Welcome back to the FNtasia podcast. We have a very, very special episode because the global championships have concluded. We got a full house today. Coach Harry is in the building. Reese Hub is in the building. Boop is in the building. We are all ready to go. And before we truly kick off this episode, because there's so much to talk about, because obviously we have the global championships, we have the massive Fortnite announcement we got, I would like to put out a disclaimer. This is your warning now for all of our NA listeners and viewers. This is not a friendly episode for you. I want you to watch and listen. I do want you to watch and listen. But just be cautious as you listen.
Oh shit, McCall.
This is not a safe space for you guys today. This is truly not a safe space.
I want to really add on to this is the fact that we have not discussed this prior. Levin is making this statement. We've not even said anything about NA yet. We've had a little 10-15-minute chat beforehand, just little light banter, nothing about NA, and Levin already knows. He can feel the tension.
He knows what's coming.
I knew because Harry's here. Harry would never lose an opportunity to slander NA.
The only reason why he's here.
Literally. I know I'm going to get slandered halfway through for some prediction or some things I said. I've got to get one back on NA.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward
Again,
to it.
for our loyal listeners, think about this for a second. Harry showed up to the podcast knowing how much we would dig into him for all of his SETI hate throughout the year. And it was still worth it for him to show up just so he could diss NA. So, just put that into context for yourself. Look, I think we can talk a lot about the global championships. I think we just start off with the big announcement that came right before Game 12, because going into, global championships, we always get excited because it's the finale to what's been a great year of competitive. And there's always that sort of down of okay, but what next, right? And last year, we at least knew we had trios. And so that was this whole big thing. This year, they blew that out the park. We got a lot more than just trios. Before Game 12, Zeke was doing his desk hosting thing. We had Julia run up on stage, doing, oh, these guys are great, man. I love Zeke and his ideas. She runs up on stage in a panic, hands Zeke a message, and he proceeds to read out what was the announcements for next year. Let me get it up so I read it in order, but the order doesn't really matter. Basically, we got juiced. We got juiced. I don't think anybody in Fortnite came into this weekend thinking we were gonna get that level of announcement or juice, right? Most people thought maybe we'd get maybe a game mode change again. Oh, guys, don't worry, Pro-Am's coming back. No. We got juiced. So they start off by saying 2026 FNCS, we're going back to duos. We've had a year of trios. Duos will be returning. But that's, we've had that before, right? We've had duos, FNCSs. Then they get into the new stuff, right? They were like, no, guys, we got new stuff for you guys now. FNCS mid-season LAN announced. The wording of that was confusing some people, but I'm guessing that's mid-season as in the season of FNCS, the year of FNCS, so midway through the year, which midway through the year, FNCS oh my goodness. New. Yeah, right. New Reload Elite Series LAN.
Woo!
Again.
Woo!
We obviously had a Reload LAN with Pro-Am, right? Pro-Am was a Reload LAN technically. This seems like it's going to be a Reload LAN that is fully focused on just being competitive. None of these creators getting involved or whatever, no Aussie antics, lifting trophies and none of that. We're going to get just pros battling it out. Then we had the new $1 million mobile series.
Jeez.
Shout out to mobile, I guess, Hey, shout out to mobile.
That is hype. That is hype. I saw a lot of people thinking this was a LAN as well. I saw a lot of people thinking why are you getting a mobile LAN? I don't think that's what that is at all. This is just giving some money to mobile, which I think the investment makes sense.
Yeah, I guess they must have been happy with how Blitz has gone for them. And then we have Ranked 2.0. We're getting a ranked WeWork.
Finally.
Coach Harry, very happy.
I cannot wait. I'm just waiting for it to be arena again. Change it back to called arena. Everyone will be happy. You know, all I see on the time. Bring back arena.
That's what everyone says.
Same thing. But if it's good, we'll see. We'll see.
And then the last two things we got were Pram returns, which I think most people were expecting because of how big of a success the Pram was earlier this year.
Yeah, 100%.
And then to close things off, they said LAN returns to Europe. So lots on the table. Let's go through it in order then, I guess, and get everyone's thoughts in order. We're going back to duos. Yay, nay? How do we feel about that?
Yes. I just a fucking bias. I'm gonna be honest here. I suck at trios.
He's biased?
The more people on a game mode, the worse I am. I'm so lost. So playing tournaments this year, honestly, I've just given up playing trio tournaments because I'm just like, it's just boring. I get into a 3v3 fight, I'm spinning around like, what's going on here? I'm in a box like a million people. They're going everywhere. Playing them, not enjoying them. Duos, so much better. Much prefer that. From an analysis POV, I made a tweet about this already. I find it really difficult to make interesting analysis on trios. Like, you can do good storylines. Like, I think the Queasy video and like Queasy Swizzy and Merstach video I'm going to put out next week, going to bang because there's a lot of good stories in there from trios and whatnot. But I think like gameplay analysis of trios is incredibly difficult. I think it's really hard to see what each individual person is like providing to the team and all that kind of stuff like that. And I feel like you need to go like too many layers deep to get some decent analysis on it. It can be done, and obviously, you know, it's doable, but I feel like just at face value, it's really hard to actually just watch a trio match and be like, oh, I see what each individual person is giving there. So I think on all fronts, I'll be honest, I'm a happy man.
Yeah, I kind of want to like jump on that as well. It's like, I know me and Levin, we've discussed this a lot, probably all the way back in chapter 2. We always argue trios versus duos.
I've always loved his favorite conversation, by the way. He loves talking about his trios.
He loves it. But it's, I don't know, for me, like watching duos, playing duos, as you said, I think coaching duos as well from a coaching standpoint, I think it's just more enjoyable in my opinion. I think the intricate things you have to do when you don't have as many mats going into endgame, a lot more mat efficiency. Of course, these things still happen in trios, and a lot of these things still are the case. But I think for the overall player and the overall player base, I feel like duos just is better to have. And I feel like we still had a really good year of duos last year. We had a good year, not saying this year wasn't good for trios, but for me personally, I just think duos suits Fortnite perfectly.
Boop, you did a bit of like a commissar.
Yeah. I like to start off with, I like how Reese's first analytical point here was like how it affects him. It's like the least important part of like what you find trios to do. Well, I
that's what
suck
people
at
care about.
Trios. Like,
that's what everyone cares.
The least most important part about this, but I mean,
like if you're playing, you will care. Though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that is true.
I played a lot of
people don't have that
year.
issue as much compared to you.
I don't know about that. When I've read a lot of the responses on my tweet, that's wrung. Like maybe because you speak the pros, obviously they don't. But if you actually like read a lot of comments, a lot of people are saying the same shit.
So I'm gonna look at it in another light in terms of like the storyline and the drama, right? So for me, trios gave the most possibility of some bullshit happening. You know, like we would never have gotten the Acorn signing situation or the snaking situation that we've had in duos and in trios compared to duos, right? Because you can't replace one person in your duo because that's not really a stake. You're just dropping them. But in trios, you know, dude, I got this guy in the call at 3 a.m. and we're gonna drop this guy the day before FNtasia. That's the type of shit that happens in trios that I think makes it a little bit more spicy for like the storyline aspect. On the other side, I think duos is good mainly just because you have, I feel like, more interesting metas in duos. Because every time Epic adds like a new item or a new thing or something, when you add another person to a team, everything just ends up being broken when you have 3 people on it, you know? And SMG, triple SMG, bang. But in the duo, it's like, oh, okay, you just hold your wall and it's not as much bleed through damage, for example, or like the Mystic Gloves or what the hell they're called. So I think duos makes it a lot more manageable to have like fun items and fun metas. AK, we had hammers, we had the rocket ride thingy and all those stuff. Like I thought those were fun metas to watch and enjoy versus trios where it was very one-dimensional, crash pad, whatever type of meta. So overall, I like it, but I do want to have that progression in storyline of like we had the trio winners this year of Swizzy, Merstach and Queasy, can they do it again next year? Or are they going to split because there's drama? You know, I kind of wanted that continuation with Polio and Pete this year. It's like, can they do it again? Because is one time lucky, or, you know, can you do it twice? So I feel like that's what kind of missing out on. But a year's a long time in Fortnite, realistically. So
yeah, it's interesting because, you know, just to reference the last thing you said of like what would have happened, the continuation. Obviously, we've seen some of the teams and duos that have been announced and people talking, but there is also a thing in my mind where I'm like, I wonder what would happen if it stayed trios, because some of these teams that have now formed for duos wouldn't obviously make sense. So like, were there going to be some big switch ups? Like, what? Yeah, we do kind of miss out on that. I will say, as someone who has had this conversation so many times with both Reese and Harry, I would weirdly like to concede that I was happy to see duos return. I think
I was going to ask. I was actually, I'm mostly interested in your opinion on this, to be honest, because as soon as I saw that, I was like,
genuinely, I don't know. I actually was hoping it would be duos before we ever got like the switch. I was like, I actually hope they switch back to duos. For a bunch of reasons, some personal, like Reese, some to do with the game. On a personal level, like this year, I just didn't play as much as I did last year, like tournaments wise. It's, you know, again, the whole thing of like finding a third, like who, you know, find all that stuff. Again, I agree with you, Reese. I felt like in trios, I was just a dud. I don't know what it was where it was like, I remember, I don't know. I feel like in trios, if you're not good, it's easy to take less responsibility. But then by taking less responsibility, the game just becomes more boring. But if I was to argue the other side, there's great vibes on trios. Like I remember last year before when it was like the OG season and like me, Harry, and Minnie were playing trios, like that was fun as fuck, you know? Like that was actually really fun, like having all three of us there. So it can be fun. It's not to say it's not fun. But I feel like I just had a bit more fun last year playing duos. On like a game-wide level, I agree with a lot of the analysis things you mentioned, Reese. I felt like I enjoyed just analyzing the game more last year when it was duos. But again, to argue the other side, it's going to be weird because I'd be very curious to know what was the decision maker for Epic, because I think from an entertainment perspective, you can't really argue that trios, like the trio product, was worse than duos. Like
I think you can argue it was better though.
It was definitely
I think you'd argue it was better. Like I think when you look at the FNTS majors we got in EU and NA across the year, like we got like the most entertaining like FNTS majors we've like ever had this year.
Was that just because you had one good duo though? Like last year, obviously NA was so snooze because you just had Pete and Poyo doing good, right? And was it because trios is better, or was it because they split up and ended up making, say NA for example, first before we talk about you, and then you actually had like two better teams. You split up the best duo that was dominating, and then you have better teams generally, and then there's a head-to-head. Was that because of trios, or was that just because you had the best duo that was dominating, just splitting up?
I wouldn't say it's because the best duo, just because I felt the same about EU. Like I know obviously the NA ones were like probably even more cinema, right? But I felt like in EU, like we had really good majors. Like they were super entertaining. And like we didn't have just like one team dominating. It definitely helped like spreading the wealth a bit in NA. Like but even like we said, like some of the drama that we got out of having the trios and whatnot was like just really cool.
That
like,
was good.
It's not as simple as just like we are just making a whole new team now. It's like, hey, we're gonna keep the core of these guys, but we're bringing in this one guy and seeing if that changes much for us. But regardless, I'm happy with us going back to duos. I think it honestly, I don't think it would be bad or good either way. Like I think regardless, like with all the other thing that's been announced, it was regardless of what game we got, we're gonna have a good time next year. Again, with some of the other stuff that's been announced, we obviously just don't know like what they're gonna be. So it's hard to like super comment on them in the same way we can with duos, because we've seen that. But I guess, you know, nobody can be unhappy with an FNTS mid-season LAN. Like, come on, like,
can't be bad.
No,
that can't be bad. What do you guys think
it's gonna look like?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you guys think that's gonna be?
I mean,
Like, what would it look like? What do you think it's going to be?
the first thing I thought about was qualifying to it. Because are you going to count it from one major or two majors? Because if it's from one major, either way you do it, and like for globals in the mid-season, it's going to be so many spots for the FNCS. It's going to be like top 20 for EU to qualify, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to feel like some of the teams are like not that good, and it might feel a bit weird. And maybe you just get like a lucky FNCS qualifier. Maybe that's good for a lot of people. For a lot of teams, especially in trios, didn't actually feel like they could qualify to globals, and now it's like if it comes to it and it's top 25 or top 20 on EU, maybe it gives them that level of motivation. But I think as long as the actual FNCS format's good, and we can talk about that another time, and it makes it so you get the good people the good players qualifying, and it's competitive, and you're not just having lobby fillers in the mid-season FNCS LAN or the globals, then I think it'll be fine. No one can really complain about more LANs.
Yeah, I think you didn't answer the question at all, but
No.
I think the way it looks like, it's going to be so. I actually have no picture either. I know that's why I'm sticking up for Harry, even though he's dodging the question.
Yeah.
I have no real idea what it looks like. My dream would be a solo LAN, though. Although we have 6 awesome duo LANs, I don't see how
It says FNCS.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
exactly.
think.
That's what I was going to say. I was about to say there's almost no chance, but I just don't see how I don't understand how you could fit it and differentiate it from globals. Hopefully they come up with a really good idea, but it's not just going to be globals 1 and then globals 2. I imagine it will be international. So how do you actually differentiate them from each other? And then how do you qualify to each one? And I'm sure these things have not been thought of at all yet. But, you want globals to be the main big LAN, and that other LAN in the year should be something different. That's why make that shit solos, bro. Make that shit solos.
Yeah.
I'd have a good way to qual to it.
What if you did like an EU, like for like one of the FNCSs, it's just like EU or NA is just their LAN. Like for example, in other esports, they have it so the finals is a LAN. Obviously most of it's also LAN, but they'll have it in a major stage or major stadium. Why don't you do that for EU and NA, the major regions? Have that at an actual stadium or an actual arena, and then make it feel bigger.
You don't have, in League of Legends, they have the mid-season invitational, right? I would just assume it's just like that. You just make it FNCS invitational, akin to what we had prior. Invite, it doesn't have to be all the teams, but invite all the big names from each region, even if they're doing badly in that region. The obvious answer is like, what makes global super special is that's the build-up from the entire year. That's why everyone's coming to and building towards. Makes FNCS more worthwhile, especially in the smaller regions, because that's at one spot to make it to the big LAN at the end. I wonder if adding one more in the middle would take away from that a little bit more, which is why they should go the route of an invitational rather than a merit standpoint, I think, because then you take away from the global championships. I guess the other way you could do it is like, ideally, I think one of the systems that people thought of recently that I thought was really good was making qualifiers to FNCS Global Championships a year-long thing, sort of to incentivize people sticking together. So you do like series points, but across the whole year to qualify to it. So maybe like the mid-season one is just your series points. And you just do qualifying spots for the Global Championships. Something like that I think would be really cool. But like we said, solos would be the most ideal thing, but FNCS mid-season doesn't make much sense. Unless they make it that, like, fuck it. The second major, it's going to be an FNCS Grand Finals on LAN for NA and EU. But then, you take away the LAN experience from the smaller regions, which also wouldn't be
Which
fair.
they need that shit. They need the LAN experience.
They need it desperately.
I'm with you in the sense, like, I don't see it, which makes me think we're gonna have to surely rework the whole ecosystem to an extent. No, like obviously this year was the first year we had of like the current system of majors with like the whole Div Cups into major or whatever. But like surely now that just gets reworked. But at the same time, I wonder like, I'm just curious of like what that looks like. They're gonna have to build something new, unless it is just gonna be like, even though they said FNCS mid-season, and maybe they do just do like a solo thing or whatever, because that's just the easiest way to do it. I'm just so curious to see, because I think as things currently stand with the systems we have, like it wouldn't make sense. Like they'd have to build something new.
You're curious. We're curious. I bet Epic are curious too. What will that look like?
Yes. I love Fortnite, man. I
Same.
love Fortnite so much. I
That's
truly
the
do.
takeaway from the weekends.
That is a takeaway from the weekend.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I could love him a little more. You know, would have been nice to be in there. You know,
of course. No, of course. Would have been nice to see you there, man. Would have been
Yeah.
nice to see all of you guys there.
yeah.
You know,
I'm on.
Maybe
I'm
something
very
else.
sad I
Hey,
missed actually, but these cat shit won't clean themselves, you know.
look, we have 4 lands next year. Surely, if we get back on FNtasia grind, they'll send us out to one of the lands, right? Surely.
I mean, 4
Each
lands
one of us
means
go-
they have a lot of budget. You know, like come
Yeah.
on now, give a little to the podcast something.
Mhm.
You know, I think we can do it. I think we can do it. Again, I think a lot of the things we just said about mid-season land, we'd probably have to say about reload land, right? Because as much as Pro-Am was good, I remember a lot of the feedback. I remember you specifically, Reese, being like, "Hey, that was good. Don't do that like professionally. Like, don't like that was really fun, guys. Can't wait to see it again next time. But don't like make this like a all pro thing and try and make this like the thing." And then they're like, "Yeah, guys, we're getting a line of that. We're gonna have to change some things, surely, right?"
They named it Pro Series. It's almost like I said, don't do it with only pros, and they're like Pro Series, yeah, which is or Elite Series, is it? Sorry, the Elite.
Yeah,
Series.
Elite Series.
Elite Pro Series,
yeah, Elite Pros, yeah, exactly. So I think one of the things that I just think that's going to be end of the year. That's the way I look at it. So like, see this, yeah. Well, obviously just because of the other lands, but I also think, say the way that they're doing solos now, right at the end of this year. It's finished. There's the Duo Pro Series, the Solo Pro Series, or whatever they're called in this current season. I just imagine that post globals, they're just going to be like hard focused on reload, and then for like the last season into the reload LAN or something like that, and that'll be like the Elite Series Pro Road to whatever it is, and that doesn't necessarily have to align with the actual like competitive season, or sorry, like the you don't have to be in Chapter 7, Season 4. It can bleed over into whatever other that you're doing because it's not in the BR map, it's in reload instead. So that's just got to be at the end. I think like the one thing I said that I think would be really good for reload, which is completely defeats the purpose, is literally just getting rid of the respawn mechanic. Like it sounds crazy, right? To start with,
normal battle royale,
not be reload.
Yeah, it wouldn't be at all. But imagine how sick it'd be. It would basically.
How about if they add it to 100 players as well instead of 40?
No.
Make the map bigger too.
The beautiful part of it is that it's small, right? Like, take a look at the Pro-Am.
I wish
right?
I heard that more.
Go through the gameplay of the Pro-Am, okay? Watch it. The things that were relevant for respawns was just the shit teams getting farmed out of the sky, right?
Yeah, but that was the
That's
best
all that was
moment.
relevant.
Alia crashing out was the best moment of the
best
Pro-Am.
moment because it was a content creator. If that was a pro, that would just be you'd be like,
that would be
whatever.
even funnier. Like that would be.
I mean, I would be funny, but it wouldn't be competitive in a sense.
Like a
so
Queasy crash out to
missing
get farmed out of the air.
That would be good. I will be honest.
Yeah.
Right. Only Queasy can respawn. There you go. But the fact that it was just like basically a smaller, faster battle royale with no surge, where you're cutting out like a lot of the boring bits of BR. I was like, while I was looking at it and watching that, I was like, the pace of this is just so much better. And maybe rather than that, I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Scrap BR. Just make it small reload with no respawns. And there you go. Now you've got fast paced action. It's basically just straight into end game.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. But once reload gets min max, it's a 10-player heal off every game or 10-team heal off every single game.
But you can make it not that.
Yeah, so we're changing
then
the whole
it just
game mode.
isn't
It's not
reload.
reload at this point.
Yeah,
We're
then it's
changing
just
the
not
whole
reload.
game.
But if you're gonna make it into a competitive game mode, which obviously they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, one thing I will say about reload, and I'll actually link rank 2.0 into this because I don't want us to go into a 1-hour conversation about what to do with ranked since we've done this podcast before, and we can do it later down the line. There's an episode where that is appropriate, but not this one. I know all of us for the most part have like spoken a lot to like the people at Epic who are like working on these things. And I know it's something a lot of the pros and stuff have been mentioned who are at globals because, you know, the people at Epic who are working on these things are there and they're taking in a lot of feedback. And again, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. I'm always scared of these types of things. But at least from like what has been alluded to, there's clearly a lot of, you know, control that these people have to make these things good. You know, the concern we always have is like the balancing of like, how do they make these things appeal to the mass Fortnite populace versus making them good in a competitive, ecosystem. Whereas it does seem like there's a lot of free reins to just make this work for comp and then think about after how it works. So hopefully those lead to like just fun experiences, because again, I think us having after globals, like us having a LAN to look forward to that isn't necessarily like the same competitive circuit is cool, It sort of like gives the vibe almost of like what Winter Royale was like way in the beginning, It was like it was different from all the other stuff, but it was like a fun comp thing that we had. So yeah, looking forward to that, wherever that is and wherever it is, hopefully in Europe somewhere. Pro-Am returns, I think we're expecting that. I don't think we need to, Pro-Am.
Nothing wrong with
Wonder
that.
who they'll invite. Yeah, hopefully they invite some newer people. A lot of the people that were there were great, but hopefully we see some new stuff in there.
I'm winning that shit.
Big resub.
Yeah, man. Get me in there.
We
just gotta grind a little bit more, man.
Mate,
it's not big enough.
It's not big enough, yeah.
Not big enough, guys. You imagine the video. Just imagine the video. Just generational content. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, you'd have to win for there to be content, but
no, I wouldn't. That's the thing. I could milk a video out of doing arse. It would be all right.
What, coming 12th for me? Like if you come middle, that's worse than doing full shit.
Hey, have you heard sad piano music before? Do you know how hard that would go in contrast to the build up of me trying really hard? Do you know the emotional impact of putting your life on the line and then coming 12th? No, you don't.
Yeah, but then they pair you up with someone like Ali A, who literally doesn't know how to play the game.
I'm glad you think I'm a pro. I'm really glad you put me in that category there.
Oh, wait, I forgot about that part.
Of course.
I mean, just for the fun, why not?
Yeah. We already talked a bit about the mobile series. That's cool. Let's see them do some mobile Fortnite tournaments. Anyone have any other thoughts on the competitive updates for next year? What are we rating it? What's our grade? Our grade rating?
I mean, 10 out of 10. Can you? But maybe I'll put it to a 9 out of 10 because we don't know about the mid-season LAN. If they'd said solo LAN there, like I'm like, you've given me literally everything I've ever asked for in life. So
yeah.
Remove the reload LAN, add a solo LAN. It's a 10. I think to me.
I've never thought about this, but is there a chance? And maybe this is like a really bad take. So let me know if it is. Is there a chance that if it is a solo LAN, it's low-key bad because it low-key overshadows globals?
Ooh, like how everyone cares about World Cup solos, and even though duos was really gas. And
yeah, I think solo LANs are just so good because like the nature of like a solo event where the one guy wins of the 100. Like I think the nature of that is so good that like, is there a risk that it overshadows like a duo LAN later
I
in the
don't
year?
think so. If you make it like not crazy, if you make it like $500,000, like then it's just enough for like it's competitive. But then people aren't gonna be like, oh wow, this is the be it and end all of it, right? Like as long as it's not like it's the build up that makes globals. It's not the actual the idea of what game mode it is, at least in my opinion.
I mean,
I don't think so.
If it's half the prize pool and it's still what 75k each for first, I still think that there's a world that does overshadow it. There is definitely a world where you run into that problem, but I think for everyone
one day,
I think make it 6 games. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Do the reload LAN on the same weekend.
Yeah, isn't that looking more hype if it's just 6 games?
Yeah, it would be.
Hold on now. Everything you guys are saying is actually making it more like hype. Like,
fuck it, make it victory cup. Make it a victory cup. 20k per win.
Now you've killed
that. See, that was my idea.
100k per win.
Make it 100k per win. Yeah.
See, that's more hype.
Tell me a LAN like that wouldn't revive Fortnite comp more than it already has. Like 100k per win. You sit there, the guy that gets second, you zoom in on his crying face. This poor OCE player could have just made his whole family's career, and he just lost the game because he didn't have enough med kits. Oh,
yeah. Every time they win, it's just fake money rains from the ceiling. So you just have.
This is what you could have. It shows him a AI video of his family paying off the mortgage.
Genuinely, do you think that like that's I think all of us agree that is an insane idea, right? Like, do you think that Epic would ever just say we're not going to do that because it's too devastating on the people who don't win?
No, I just don't think they thought of it, to be honest. I
have
generally
you-
just, if
Bro,
Epic
this
could
game
say
is a social
every-
experiment.
yeah,
Come on now.
if they could say there could be 12 games, but every game winner is that hype, I think they would be doubling down on it. They'd be going in with it.
It's not a bad idea. Like, tell me that wouldn't like
Great
make
idea.
news everywhere. Like everyone would
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know?
That would be
It's
crazy.
the Mr. Beast format.
That would be crazy. I can't lie. Hell no. All
Fuck
right.
yeah, do it.
Yeah, I think my grade, I gotta give them an A plus, man. You know,
Okay.
like I think the fact that like again, we need to wait for a lot of these things to actualize, but and I don't say this to disrespect what we've had the past couple of years, but at least that on paper, what they've given us, that feels like a real esports circuit. Like we don't just have like this feels like the most they've committed to making Fortnite feel like a legitimate S tier esport, like ever. Like, this is the biggest commitment they've ever made to that, and for that, I can only give them an A plus.
I do wish. What is interesting though is that they announced the prize pool of the mobile LAN. And I saw a lot of people complaining about like why no one asked for this. That makes me think it's like a sponsored thing because usually when the things like that, like a PlayStation Cup, nice pussy Reese, is like done like that. It's sponsored. So I wonder. The only thing that would have made the announcement better is if we knew the actual prize pool of the whole year next year, right? Like because I think last year they said it. Maybe they didn't see it last year. I don't remember. It was like
last year
$7.6
they
million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, last
So
year
if they said like,
the
okay, we have
global
15
prize
mil
pool.
this year, then it would be sick. But
It's undecided. It might be a bigger prize pool. This is the thing that's more exciting. They haven't announced it. You know, they might be thinking
think
about.
it,
You know,
or it could be less because there's more costs now. And you're gonna fly out everyone to 4 lands now instead of 2. You know, the business class flights will pay themselves. You know.
True.
They could.
Yeah, from
if
like
they stop doing them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, please don't stop. Well, please give me business class flights. From a basic like business perspective, so people understand, and I still don't have a full understanding of this, right? But for them to be doing all these things means that there's been a large amount of money injected. Like you can't do this many more events without a large injection of money into the product. So yeah, how that money then gets distributed into balancing, making the prizing seem appealing and attractive versus the operational cost of actually doing these things is going to be super interesting. But even with that being said, I low-key don't care. We have 4 fucking lands. Like, get over it. You
Obviously,
know?
you don't care. There's 4 jobs for you extra on top. You know, like.
My money going up.
Yeah, your money going up, baby. Let's
I mean,
go.
that's the thing. It's been rough times. You know, there's been less qualifiers, less broadcast. Generally, look, you know, Levin actually, he was going to move out into a big millionaire mansion. He's not been able to this year. He thought he had it all planned out. Next year, whoo!
It's crazy.
Okay,
man.
wait. Here's the thing, though. I think this is a real important question with 4 lands. How many are we readies are we getting? Because you can't have that in all 4. You know.
No, we had moments. Yeah.
No, you're getting 0 Are You Readies next year.
Are you retiring it?
I mean,
You can't have a new gimmick.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's like, you know, you don't want it to get stale, and you know,
how could you
like,
top it this year though? Like
that's the
realistically,
problem, you know?
in the stand with the MA army.
That's the problem. It's like everyone's expectations just get higher and higher. Like people are too like greedy. Like one of my replies to one of my tweets was someone going, "Can't wait for next year's one." Fuck, I just walked off the stage 4 minutes ago, and you're asking for next year's one. Like,
do you know how to skydive, Levin?
No, but honestly, like, how else does it get more hype?
Into the stadium.
Like, bro, they need to like have me like ascend from the fucking ceiling or something. Like, there's no other way. The only other way it can be more hype is unless you like do like the WWE thing where like I actually just disappear for a year. So like everybody thinks I've left Fortnite, and then right before game 12 starts, like I've not been there the whole year. Yeah, like I've not done a single FNTS, no FNtasia. I'm not at globals, and right before game 12, fucking camera cuts to me. Just fucking, that's the only way it gets like more.
It's fucking Zeke doing the analysis. You come back with a steel fucking chair.
Bang! The money in the bank is covered.
That's my moment. That'll be fucking hype. That'll be better than anything else.
Yeah.
K on Blast
yeah.
production
Then-
booth. This is what we need.
then, though,
Yeah,
How'd
get me
you
on
top
the team,
that?
bro. I got
You know?
ideas.
Yeah, how is that? And then after that, how do I top
I
that?
Do a
think you have
Royal
to, like,
Rumble to decide
die.
who gets to do the
Yeah.
announcement.
You've got to be like Undertaker. It's like he's fucking dead. He's just gone for the whole year, and then you come out with a
Casket
coffin
comes out.
in the year after.
Oh.
Yeah, it might be. That might have been the last Are You Ready you guys here
Damn.
for a long time at least. But yeah, really excited for next year, man. Next year is going to be fun. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have any good ideas for how these lands should go and should be structured, leave them in the comment section. You never know. Epic might need the idea. They might need the ideas, guys. I won't say too much, but they might need the help. So yeah, they might not know themselves yet. So you should leave some good ideas there. It might help out. EU on top. We did it, boys. We did it. We finally won
all
the
of
global
us are
championships.
contributing to this.
We finally did it. We won the global championship.
Our win.
Oh.
Yes.
Did you see
Hmm?
the response to your tweet, Levin? I'm going to pull it up and read it from Changing Crisis.
No, what did he say?
Great. I'm just scrolling here to try and find it. It was back. It was a great prediction by him. I'm trying to see if I can actually find it because I didn't respond. Yes, there we go. So the tweet was in response to Frankie, and it was Frankie interviewing you back in July 17th. And the tweet was like, as FNtasia returns on Sunday, I got 11-2K to have a chinwag with me about the rest of the season. And basically, in summary, you said you weren't as confident in the EU teams coming into globals, right? I'm summarizing very quickly.
Yeah.
Changing Crisis on July 17th said the reason Levin isn't as confident in EU trios is because they're so competitive. So there isn't really a standout trio apart from Vanya, Pixie, and Marius. So they don't look unbeatable, whereas the top three Endo trios are so far ahead of the rest, they just look like everyone else is trying to fill the lobby. What a prediction! What a prediction! Look, all of us have said even us on this podcast had no hope in EU. Where we faltered, he did not.
Who said that?
Changing Crisis.
You're the only one who didn't have faith in you, buddy.
Yeah, I said
Get yourself a face cam.
We've all been here.
And hop on FNtasia, lad. Get a contract, give him whatever number he wants, and get him on the fucking podcast. I mean, Harry, does it feel good for it to come home finally?
I don't think I ever stopped smiling throughout the whole 12 games. Every time it just panned and it was just clicks dying to surge, Peterbot dying to full damage. I was just grinning every moment throughout it. It was just, nothing's ever felt so good. And then it's just the Faxty crash out where it's like, I'm gone Foxy, fucking dog shit Minish, and he's just crashing out on every NAT. It's the best clip. It's my favorite clip. It's just nothing will beat that weekend. I had so much fun watching it.
The second you knew it was over was game one. You're like, okay, it's the Peterbot game. Come on, it's at LAN. And it gets fucking one banged by Victor V, bro. Like, oh my god. Oh my god.
Insane.
Euphoria to the maximum there.
Yeah. I have never in my life seen Peterbot put in the full house like that. He was paying a fucking mortgage on that. It was unbelievable.
Rocked. Like it was like when you are watching like a heavyweight boxing fight and like the big fucking guy who's like unbeaten streak and he just gets right hook, knockout, jelly legs, fucking toes curling, fucking spazzing out on the floor. Like it was insane to watch. Like genuinely, that was like complete turning point of every. Like if you were gonna be like, okay, I don't necessarily think this is going to happen because I think Peterbot and Poyo will be amazing next year in duos and NA. But imagine if now Peterbot was to like fall off and just become like normal, right? Not bad, but like if he just becomes normal, like this would be when you said the Peterbot era ended. Like that game was the end of the era.
Video
for just in case, by the way. I am going into replays and getting as many different POVs and clips, slow motion angles, and I'm putting it away for a video in the future.
Yeah.
Because
like, you have
this
to.
moment killed Peterbot. Could be what just in case.
Just in case.
I think a moment that kind of summed up their like day one, especially was game 2. It wasn't shown on the broadcast, but game 2, obviously they landed the train. We can talk about that, their whole strategy, whatever. But they keyed the Middle East team on the mountain, and they 3v1 keyed a Middle East player who was like stuck on the zipline going up and down, and they just couldn't kill him. And he just ran away. And I'm like, you're watching a team who has ran down every team for a year straight, struggled to kill a solo Middle East player. And I'm like, this is just summing up what's going to happen this weekend. It's like, it's just not meant to be.
It's tough. Look, we already getting excited with our NA shit talk. So let's focus on our boys who won it, who brought it home. Queasy, Swizzy, Merstach. I mean, to be honest, going into the weekend, they had become obviously just massive favorites, right? Everybody was either saying that trio or Acorn's trio. It felt like, obviously there were some people saying Vanya's as well, but it felt like, you know, percentage-wise, most people had either those guys or Acorn's trio. Queasy, of course, has, you know, come so close on land many times before. The story around Swizzy finally being able to get to play with his teammates. Merstach having some of the best average land placements of any player, if not the actual best, I think. But yeah,
Queasy does.
I don't think it was Queasy.
Queasy was bet first
Queasy is the best
before
average.
this. Yeah, I don't know what his
Queasy, I remember
average placement at 5th before this.
Queasy had an average placement of 4.5 before this LAN, and he was number 1. I have a bookmark. I actually have a bookmarked because it's the best conversation piece ever. It's Queasy with 5.0, Venno 8.0, Chicho, Kami, Seri, Vico, Cole, Thomas, Acorn. Merstach is even on the list.
That was his
so
first
I remember
ever
I
top
said
10.
this.
No,
sure. I remember I said this, but then somebody was like, no, there was somebody else. Like Kinch or somebody had put somebody else had a better average placement, and I was like, how is that possible? I'll try to find it. But either way,
it might be Poyo if you're counting only one LAN sort of thing. Like, because
no, it wouldn't have been. Either way, that's not important. They fucking won, boys. Let's fucking focus on what's important. They won. And you know, obviously day 2, the game sort of like weren't as impressive as day 1. But let's talk about that day 1, man. 3 wins back to back on LAN. I mean, come on. It would have been 4. It would have been 4. Game 1, they were set up for it and they just got unlucky with the zone port, like pulled to the one team on the other side of zone. And the whole lobby was just on like the northeast side, and it pulls south, or it pulled southwest. We've just never seen anything like it. Like,
it would have been 4
like
if Venno didn't fucking stop that shit.
True. Well. I mean, and they obviously they came. It could have been 5. It literally could have been 5 in a row. Holy crap!
Yeah, I think a lot. I've not dived in and done like a super duper deep analysis on all the gameplay because that's what I'm going to be doing for my actual video. But I think one of the things that definitely is a big contributor to that first day success, I'm not trying to take away from them, but that's what it's going to sound like to start with, is the fact that so many other big teams, like the Height teams, were struggling on the first day comparatively. And then, like, there wasn't that many teams looking at all to retake Height. I think across all of their games, I think the 3 games they took Height, not a single team tried to end up retaking it, because I think a lot of the big, see guys like Peterbot's team were down. A lot of Vico's team is obviously doing well, like dying off spawn in some of those games as well. And then like the one game, I think, where Venno's team ended up getting a bit of steam in them was the game that they took Height for them and ended up taking it out. So I actually would be interested in seeing another like hypothetical from this where, you look at, say, Peterbot's team at Uncon and see how much Height has changed across the whole, and same with like Venno's team, and then you see Vanya doing better on the first day, maybe going for it more and things like that. Because like the day 2 switch up was so interesting, where Height seemed relatively free first day, and then day 2 it was just the complete opposite. Whether everyone was like vodding from what was happening in day 1 or whatever, but like it was absolutely ridiculous.
I think to your point about day 2, it's the classic Fortnite player. You see, for example, you play a tournament and you see something uncontested. It's like, it's going to be uncontested next game. And then everyone lands there. It's the same thing about Height. It's like, they see day 1, no one's going for Height. Like, it's so free. We can just go for it. And then game 1, it's literally 5 teams build fighting for it, crash padding on each other. And it's an absolute grief fest. But I think to day 1, I think just the way they were playing early Height was really impressive. The way they were willing to take it looked so strong whenever they took. And I think the Mythic Revolver was a huge impact in it as well, right? If you think about the way you take Height in this meta, it was a lot of fizz crash padding, right? And what's the best gun to kind of stop someone is the Revolver. If they're just flying up at you, you've got the Revolver where you can just beam them with it, and there's not a lot really they can do about it. But I think it was very interesting to see how they played height. I think it was a really good watch. And I think your video, Reese, will be really good on it. Because I think if you compare them to how like Pixie plays height and how much he drops down in comparison to Merstach and Swizzy, who drop down a bit, but nowhere near as often. I think it'll be a really interesting watch. But yeah, I mean, it's as close as I think we'll get for a long time to a near perfect day on LAN. It could, as we said, it could have been 5 wins.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. It could have been 5 wins on a LAN. And I mean, that I don't think anyone expected 3, but the fact they could have got 5, I mean, yeah, it's just unreal.
Yeah. So for me, I think there's a lot of people that say like, "Oh my god, dude, if they didn't take height, bro, like they would have been shit anyways." You know? Oh my god, height's so easy when you're on high ground. I think the big thing for Queasy specifically, like I always talk about. We have this conversation about globals being harder than an FNtasia Grand Finals in EU, for example. And a lot of people always say, "Oh, it's easier than the globals in EU," or something like that. But I think one of the things I use as a counterpoint usually is that I think globals is one of those things where you have to be the most adaptable possible. And I think like experience is something that's super, super important at a globals because you don't know what the random Brazil team is going to do or the random Asia team or the OC team is going to do, right? Like there's a lot of really interesting crash out plays coming out that you have to account for. And more importantly, at the cost of your mat count as well. So I think people saying like, "Oh, the high ground was so easy, no one took it against." I don't think that's really true because also like, how many people are able to get their team into an end game with literally cap mats? You know, how often does that happen at the top level? Well, for Queasy's trio, the 2 games that they won, the first 2 at least, they were literally 5-5. I feel like in first moving zone, and then that 3rd game they had a little bit less mats, so they had to play a little bit more aggressive towards low ground. I think Mercer's got like a big refresh and they sort of sorted them, but like that's the type of thing you have to do at a LAN is like be adaptable and be able to get to a late game with mats. If you can get the late game with max mats, well, the game's just easy from there because then the late game quality is a little bit easier just in general. So I think that was pretty much the make or break of it. You know, it's like Queasy, for correctly so, has the highest average LAN placement of all plays in the history of Fortnite because the man knows how to play adaptability. You know, he's been in multiple LANs before, multiple FNtasia Grand Finals. He knows how to get to an end game. He knows how to play it. And I think that's what made the difference compared to some of the other teams that maybe are a little bit reliant on the teams or like the metas being predictable around them, aka some of the NA teams.
Well, I think Queasy for the longest time, along with a couple other players who we'll eventually talk about because they've done incredibly well, he's understood for years now that the biggest skill gap in the game is what you just described there, getting to endgame with cat mats, right? And I think his understanding of how to do that has just shone through, regardless of the season, the meta, etc. I'm so happy for these guys, man. They were popping off. Swizzy and Merstach, they were putting in the work, man. The numbers looking amazing. Swizzy in particular, I mean, yeah, man. We've known this guy's crazy for a while. You know what I'm saying? We've known this guy is one of the best players in the world for a while. But he delivered on that stage, man. Proper delivered. They obviously had the fans behind them. The M8 fans were just couldn't stop chanting for them and backing them. But you could say the same for the second place team, right? Vanya, Pixie, Marius obviously had the fans. It's so tough when it comes down to the final game, you know, for those 3, and there's a chance to win it and you can't quite make it happen. But again, a big props to those guys. Like for a lot of this year, when we had conversations in EU around the game, we were talking about those 2 teams, you know, going up against each other on height, right? Like it was always like, hey, who's the better height team? You know, how do they play when they're in the same lobby? You know, I know early on for Vanya's trio, that was something they struggled with, right? It felt like if Queasy was in the lobby, the height weren't going to be a thing for them. Whereas it felt like they worked on that all throughout the year and things got a lot better for them. Talk about like, you know, the confidence and the composure of like Swizzy, Queasy, Merstach. I want to big up Vanya, man. That brother is cold as fuck. Like day 1, he's mid-game and he knows the cameras are on him and he's fucking, while he's playing, he's like bigging up the fans to cheer in-game. I'm like, holy fucking shit, bro. Like this guy is like, that is aura. Do you know what I mean? Like that is a guy who is in control of this moment. Obviously, Pixie's been getting bigged up for being like the best in the world all year long, or best in the EU, sorry, all year long. Marius, you know, shout out to Boop's son. You know, he's been putting in a shift. Like, I just think, again, in a world where there were concerns about like how well would EU represent us at LAN, all of these guys just delivered. Do you know what I mean? Like, and obviously I'm very happy for Queasy on a personal level, and I think they, like, if you look at a team and you're trying to weigh up like who deserves it the most, like who do you think deserves it the most? Like, for me, it would be them, right? And we spoke about this at the end of the last ep, right? When Reese, you said like, who does everyone want to see win, right? And I think we all picked them, because we all just know how much they deserve it. Had it gone to Vanya's trio, again, you would have felt it was so deserved because of just the year that they've had and how much they've excelled throughout.
I would have, but I would like to say I was sitting on my couch watching, and in the second day, when Queasy seems starting to flop, and I see every single game Vanya's team getting to end game, I'm like, no! I'm like, come on! I was like, I was full biased on the Queasy team. I will 100% be honest, because I was like, firstly, I want to see them win. I think that obviously, like I said, I want to see them win beforehand. The storylines are so good. But secondly, I'm like, mate, the video is just better if Queasy's team wins here. So like, come on.
Right.
But no, in seriousness, they played unbelievably well as well. It's like, you know, last year when you have Peterbot and Poyo doing super well, and then the secondary team you talk about where like, wow, that was also super impressive, was Queasy and Thomas. And the kind of same thing obviously just happened this year, where it was like, you see a team who looks unbeatable, and then all of a sudden you've got this other team racing up behind them who look consistent every single game, and they made it close right down to the end. So yeah, huge props. Both of those teams are played honestly insane. And I think, like, going back to what we were saying earlier about duos and trios and things like that, I think it would be interesting to see where that trio would go next year, because like their average placement and their placements this year were nuts. I can't remember what they were off the dome, but like they were by far the most consistent.
Second.
Yeah, like that is absolutely unbelievable. So it'd be interesting to see what they would have ended up doing next year.
Yeah, I don't think there's like, I mean, I'm looking at the leaderboard for globals, and I think Levin said it, but I don't think there's like a single team that like disappointed or like underperformed. Maybe, I guess you can make an argument potentially for Vika and Flixie in terms of like the spawn fight. Maybe it's a bit of an underperformance there, but like in terms of teams that were uncontested and the expectations, like you have Queasy's team at the best spot on the map. I think any competent person would have put them to win in that situation. At least for EU. I think you have Vanya Swizzy Marius mid-map, you know. Once the second that first Scrim game got played online and you saw Canada was there trading with them every single game, you knew that shit was done, right? Because that was the big question mark for that team. Like, how could they react to a different play style? Could they get that consistent surge trading? Like, they, you know, that was done. Panzer said Yapko. I think everyone had their expectations against them because they were contested. But then they showed that form that they had for Major 3 of like, hey, these guys are actually kind of good. What the hell does this come from all of a sudden? But they showed it 2 seasons in a row then. And then Cammy is like the experience of the LAN, you know, 4th place, uncontested, also not disappointing. Pigstorm and Demush, first LAN ever. The big question for them is, are they built for that shit? They're built for that shit. You know, 6th place. Yeah. For Doxy, contested, still top 10ing and dropping 20 bombs on LAN, you know, pretty much as expected there as well. And then Savage, you know, as 87, which is a disgusting number.
Queasy's team had 61 in first, and they're the second highest elim team. So,
and that's like what? How many games did they end up playing for that one, right? Like 7 or something like that. So, then you have Savage's trio, you know, who are coming in as content creators, proving themselves wrong as well. They showed up. Like, I don't think there's a single EU team that actually disappointed. Like, you could argue Tayson, but like they're contested and they lost a spawn. So like, not a single team actually did badly that had the expectation of doing well at that LAN.
From EU.
Yeah, from EU.
From EU.
You didn't clarify that enough.
I
tried to say EU a few times there, but yes, from EU, yes.
Yeah, I mean, when you just look at that leaderboard, there's just so much to smile and be happy about. Like, so much. Just when you go from, like, you know, obviously you mentioned Set History already, and like just not people sort of almost sleeping on them. You know, you look at Cammy's trio, and yes, you know Cammy's got the experience, but bloody eye drop, mate. he finally did something.
No joke.
Day 2 I
Yeah.
dropped. Day 2 I
Let's-
dropped.
let's- Let's just say how it is. iDrop had started to develop a reputation for just not being able to deliver the goods, you know, and to see them, you know, pick up that fourth is huge. I know there'll be something in the back of their minds where they would have wanted maybe at least one more placement higher, just for reasons, of course, you know, wink, wink. But look, still a great performance across the day for both of those teams. And I think we mentioned that, you know, when you look at, you know, that area of the map, a lot of those teams you're expecting to do very well for obvious reasons. Little game I want to play with you guys, which is not a game, but I just want to ask you. We do this a lot with lands where, or not just lands, with FNTSs, where like obviously the placements are what they are, but sometimes you have a different feeling for like who actually was most impressive to you, right? Like I remember Major One when Queasy's team placed whoever they've placed, we were all like, yeah, but they're the second best team in this lobby. You know, like they didn't actually, you know what I mean? They might not have actually played second, but we all watched and we felt like they were the second best team in this lobby. Same thing for you guys again here. Like who, if you were to like give your top 3 of the 3 teams that impressed you the most, what would it be? I'll start us off. Obviously, Queasy's team, you know, when you just look at how things went day 1, I'd have to say Fredoxy's trio, like the way they ran down the lobby, like when they got their games was just insane to me. Like it did not look like they were playing at the global championships. It felt like they were just fucking playing like a opens tournament at times. And then pick Steamish and Dom. Like it's so unfortunate because they honestly should have probably placed a bit higher than what they ended up getting. Like the last 2 games, I think, were just really rough for them. But those were the 3 teams that I think impressed me the most, just on like an eye test level.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with those teams. You know, you have, as you said, you have the team who, when it comes, obviously, there's a lot of teams Surge Raging, but they utilize it the most. They showed how, if you are the strongest in the lobby when it comes to Surge and Mats, you can just utilize that to win games consistently. You have then the team who walk the walk when it comes to keying and talk the talk, walk the walk. Like they literally, Pablo Chino and Fredoxy that was the most fun team to watch in my opinion. Like just seeing them just run down teams like it's nothing. Like they've said the entire time that they will key teams, they will try and drop 20 bombs, they'll do this, and you're like, yeah, of course, you know, everyone says that.
Yeah,
and then they just do it, and then they just do it, and it's like there's some games you're like, if you just chilled a little bit, you know, you could get more out the games, but then they wouldn't get the 20 bombs, you know. So it's like that's what made them so enjoyable to watch. And obviously, pick Samus and Demush on their first hand. I want to give an honorable mention to Ree, Cooper, and Curly. I know I'm giving an honorable mention to an NA team, but for a team who had all the crashes they had like early into the game, were not able to trade with any team at all. Got I think it's 3rd most kills on the LAN. They were just running down teams as well. Like I feel like if they were how many points? 14 points off 9th. And with 2 crashes, with everything that was going on, I feel like they probably feel that they could have got a much better placement if other
100%.
circumstances were better for them. So I do want to give them a shout out. That's probably as far as my NA props goes, but genuinely, like for everything that happened, like I enjoyed watching them a lot.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm just going to literally say the same 3 teams.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go for honorable mentions as well. I mean, Queasy's enough said. Pick Stevie Star, enough said. I think with Fredoxy's team, they're like the last legitimate team. Let's be real, you know, because everyone else is surge trading like crazy, and you're like, they are respectful. They play by the law. They play by the book. They're just keying people. Like I think that's fantastic. Like I love watching their gameplay. I totally agree. I think they were like the most entertaining trio to watch. As soon as you got off spawn, like you knew there's gonna be good action. I think my honorable mentions though, I think we'd actually just go out to the 2 Brazil teams, like King's team and then Kadu's team. Like Kadu's team first win on LAN. I think that's the first LAN win for a match, I think, from a Brazil team across like since the Invitational, which is massive. I think they won in game 11, and they also dropped like I think it was 16 elims there as well. They dropped an absolute bomb. Yes, they were fragging. They were going crazy. And then Phaser's team is in 11th, so 11th and 12th from them. So Brazil is actually like was showing up pretty good. And I mean, you know, there's a good argument that they did better than some of the NA players as well. And I think a lot of these guys also weren't trading too. Obviously, they didn't end up coming in. King
was full key in.
So King was full key in. Striker's team, wasn't doing too much like trading either. They were just getting into good positions and just frying everyone. So yeah, I think my honorable mentions go to them because I did have King's team in my top 10 generally because I saw how they played on NA, but a lot of the games they got ran down by Ferdox's team. So it's like, that's the team you're fighting. That's the team who's near you. So yeah, honorable mention to those guys.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to King for being NA's third best team, right? Because they're claimed now after spending a season in NA. Yeah, I would agree with Levin. I think obviously Queasy for this day one performance. Obviously Big Dom and Dimash for the first LAN actually showing up, and then Fedoxy for making it a show. The funny part is that Fedoxy had that clip on Aussie stream, I think, where he's like, man, I don't want to hear you guys ever say that EU Grand is as easier than this shit. Like, that shit is so fucking Mickey Mouse, bro. And then he just drops a 20 bomb like right afterwards. That was a great moment.
Crazy.
My honorable mention, I guess, would have to go to Aegis Poyo Acorn for getting 16th with Uncon Demons. I think that's quite impressive.
Really impressive.
That takes a lot of effort and a lot of skill. I'm joking. That's gonna get fucking clipped. Nah, I mean, for me, I guess I'll do the Reese is farm the Brazilians. I'll farm the other side. Shout out to Savage, Reese, and Chap for showing that they're legitimate pro players, and like, they had the conversation with Clicks, right? Like, Clicks was like, Savage, he's so much worse than I am. Like, he's a content creator. I'm a full pro player. And Savage comes in and slam dunks and gets top 10 at LAN. So shout out to him. There you go. Oh, one more honorable mention to Panzer. Brother was playing on a default mouse and keyboard at this fucking LAN because he overslept when he landed at the LAN and still managed to top 3. You could talk about the way that they played, but like, bro, imagine playing on a new mouse and keyboard 3 days before the biggest tournament of your career. Like, goddamn, that's insane.
100% agree. Do you know who we're not shouting out?
Middle East and OCE?
And Asia. We're not shouting any of them
and
out.
Asia. They
guys, look, let's just cut to the real issue here. How many LAN spots are we giving out next year? Because it can't be the same. We can't keep giving out these LAN spots to these regions, man.
They just need to do a playoff or a group stage between these regions so we get the best of them. We can't keep letting just like one OCE team from another 3 OCE teams in if they're not better than some of the Asia or Middle East teams. Like, you just can't. It's like, we just gotta have them. It might still not be good, but at least you get the best of the minor regions. Like.
Are we using this extra money we've got for next year to add another day to globals, and we do like the upper bracket, lower bracket thing again? Like, is that the solution?
No.
I don't.
How do we?
It was awful.
We don't need upper bracket, low bracket. We just need it for the minor regions. Like, literally, they're just also dog. Like, just put them all together and just get the best out of them all.
Also dog.
The dog.
like, just put them together. We'll get the best. Yeah, I was gonna, but like, it's just sad because you get hyped. You're like, oh, maybe this team will do something. And it's so disappointing every year.
To be fair, I do think, like, even though the leaderboard placement didn't show it, I do think the individual performance of the smaller regions were a lot better. Because, like, usually they kind of just sit there, usually they're kind of like a bug on a windscreen, they're flapping in the fucking wind, all dead and shit. But this time they actually showed a little bit of life, trying to, like, W-key some teams. Like, I saw an Asia team 1v3 Peanutbot's team, like, they were W-keying another team. One of them killed Venus Trio, I believe, as well. Like, they actually tried to do something different rather than just sit there and just die. Which I got to give respect to those teams because I saw them get a lot of kills in the mid game. So
yeah,
I do agree. I definitely did feel more often that like they weren't just like rolling over.
Yeah,
but I also think that's our like bias a bit because I don't think if you look at the other lands they just get rolled over in the same way. Like I think again, a lot of these minor region teams, they have players who like talent, like when it comes to like fighting ability, they can like hold their own. It's like about understanding how to like actually win and play the game out in like a good way, which is the problem. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe in the whole rework of trying to figure out how we fit in the mid-season LAN, there is a way in which like, we resolve the issue of the minor regions just stinking it up.
I think looking at it, right, I feel like one of the big takeaways from this LAN is honestly that like one of the ways to succeed is just to farm the small region teams. Like the Queasy's team was trading with Goofy's team, the OZE team. And like you should see the damage ratios of those boys. It is abysmal. Like it is fucking like and this is not and surge trading is not super complicated. It's literally point and click. One team was pointing and clicking significantly better than the other team, right? Yeah. You look at some of the other teams like Tinka's team, who's just getting farmed off spawn at the start of the day one. When they moved around, I think they got like 11 elims total across the whole tournament. Like it's a lot of Fortnites' team. Like the reason they were farming kids down is because a lot of the kids around them were like the small region teams where they were just running through them. There's times where like teams were third party in them and they were just able to like defend themselves really easily. I do like the fact they were more aggressive, but like I would love to do like a full deep dive into how they impacted the top tiers of the lobby. Like, I guess some of the teams weren't as relevant to that. Say, for example, like Vanya's team, like they didn't really WK anything in the mid game and all that kind of stuff. Like, I would love to see how many of the top 10 were like farming Surge on smaller region teams or farming elims on them instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
It's sad.
It is sad, but I will say, when it comes to the biggest smaller region, NA Central,
I'm ready. I'm just getting ready.
I was waiting to get that one in.
Yeah,
guys. What the flip?
What the heck?
Like, what the flip?
It was the crowd, man. They couldn't concentrate on the gameplay.
The lights were too bright, guys. The lights were too bright. The crowd too loud.
All those friends' chants they couldn't understand. They were just so distracted whilst they were playing.
Wait, what are they saying? Hold on.
Yeah.
It's because all the Europeans could understand the European. They were telling them information from the crowd. They were talking the Americans could understand the European speak. Like, how could they compete?
I mean, it was, as I said, I think we should start with the probably biggest upset from NA. You touched on it a little bit, Boob. Acorn, Poyo, and Aegis, right? Because with that placement, if you had told me with 16th, if you had told me they got no queen spawns, okay, their spot's nowhere near as good if they get no queen spawns. They got 10 out of 12.
Fucking
hell. That is 10 games you have an S tier spot uncontested. And what we say about NA or not, if you gave Peterbot that spot 10 out of 12 games with the Queen, we know where he'd be placing. It'd be a much higher in the leaderboard, probably in contention to win. Yeah. So it's, I'm so lost on what happened to them.
I think,
I'm
sorry, go for 11. Go for 11. So you're about to cook up something.
Well, no, before I could see Boop was about to cook, so I was just gonna add in like a quib, just like a quick little, in a weekend where like we were going, someone might solidify themselves as like a GOAT IGL here, right? We obviously had Queezy who like, rose to the occasion and like fully stamped himself in that position, and where there was an opportunity for Acorn to do the same, unfortunately, it just slipped through the fingers completely. I spoke to Ages afterwards, and like he said, in their minds, the worst possible case scenario, assuming they just played as bad as they possibly could, was like a 10th or 11th, right? Which most people would have agreed with. It's like if everything goes wrong for us, the worst we should be placing, even then, is still just like 10th, And it was worse than that. And what's more confusing to me is that like, yeah, there were some games where like they had problems surge-wise because the people that they were trying to trade with were like just getting ran down, and so they couldn't trade. But even in games where like, but even in games where they weren't, like they had surge, they had the damage. It's just like
they died like first moving, half and half,
It's man. That was honestly very hard to watch, like very very hard to watch.
Yeah, I was going to mention what you said about them struggling with surge there. Obviously, a Minish team, them not having the trading off spawn early did hurt them. I think 2-3 games because, I mean, I say 2 or 3 games. The amount of times, if you go back and watch every game, I swear every team counter-stratted a Minish team. Like, not every game, but a lot of the games. Like, there was the one where, obviously, the game that Veno won was the one where they died, like one of them died off spawn. So I think it was Veno died off spawn, and they went all the way to mid-map to counter the strat. They waited until someone padded, killed him out of the air. As he's dying, reboot Veno. He gets the loot. They go and key the rest of the team and take over that, and then they've like replaced the Surge Strat. There's a lot of other, obviously, like Pete cut off their loot and key them and stuff. I feel bad for a Minish team. They honestly, I would love to go back and watch 12 of 12 and see how many counter strats they got, because it was a lot. And that obviously then impacted Poyo's team, as kind of mentioned, because they weren't able to trade Surge. But like, I just feel like even the games where they were, you split to like the 7th or 8th zones, and like roughly one of the last Surge, it's like they're below Surge then. You know, it's like either they weren't able to get enough to then play like slowly in the mid game, or they just were doing nothing after that and not able to like keep above. And this is one of the things where I'd watched some of their Grands games last season and saw something similar too. Like a lot of the games where they were successful in those like partial rotating zones, they were always like ramping up super high, right? And like on that kind of god position on the corner, you know, like you got partial zone right in the corner, ramp up high, tons of Surge. And basically in every single zone transition, they used to do something similar when I was watching. The games that didn't do that, they're always super below Surge. Like that to me is where I saw them get so much Surge. And I didn't get to see them at all do that. Whether they did or not, I don't know. But every single time I saw them at that point of the game, they're always just below. And I wish I could go and do it. I'm actually going to do another video on that. I want to see like what went wrong with all these teams that people predicted doing well. But yeah, there was one good game they had, which was a bit of a bomb. It was like a 14 Elim 13th or something like that, which could have been like a 25 Elim win or something like that. But yeah, it was I'm pretty sure we would all agree that's probably the biggest disappointment from the weekend.
Yeah, it has to be.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Most people had them top 3 minimum, you know, in their predictions. So
I mean, how could they not, right? Like that's probably one of the easiest spots to play in terms of Surge trading from what we've seen historically. Minus the coin, obviously, but like you have the coin spawn there now as well. So for me, I mean, we there were hints at this. It's either we can look at it 2 ways, right? It's either were they worse than everyone made them out to be as a team, or was this globals harder than everyone made it out to be for them specifically, right? And I don't know which side I subscribe to that, because like I had this take prior, and a lot of people gave me shit for this take specifically. But like Major 2, that specific Major, their stocks I felt like went down a lot. And that people were like, oh yeah, they pulled all the zones were North Poob. But like, you know, as a top team, especially in NA Central, like a far zone pool doesn't matter as much in that sort of region, right? Because everyone else around you just doesn't shoot at you as much. The easier teams around you to trade with. So that Major 2 performance with with Mass Metal's uncontested, I feel like kind of set the tone of like, okay, these guys, they have issues with adaptability specifically. And then, you know, going into globals, it feels like those same issues were there again, where like, if things are slightly different, aka Minish gets W keyed, then they just don't really have a plan to deal with those sort of situations. So I don't know, man. It should have been better. I think there needs to be a conversation had about maybe just how good they were in the first place, just in general compared to the rest of the lobby. You can't really blame it on anything. I'll be honest. Like people talk about, oh yeah, all the top teams in the EU were trading, which just isn't the case either. You know, like not everybody was trading, and even they had teams that wanted to trade with them as well. So see no reason why they should have done that badly.
Yeah. I mean, on that point, they still traded with Malabuka some games, right? I saw them trade. It's not like they adapted and they tried to trade Malabuka and it still didn't change how well they did. You know, they just got. I remember a game they were in their Surge base and they've just been ran down by Fredoxy. You know, and it's like this is a team who, as we've spoken about, they run NA, they key teams, they drop 40 bombs consistently, like, and then I don't know, like. It's one of those things that after everything that's happened the year, you know, with Acorn kind of holding Poyo hostage, I wonder if, you know, when things are going bad, you don't have the vibes or the team team chemistry to kind of get out of those sticky situations. You know, it's like when things are going well, it's very easy to play. You know, when you have the best spot, easy surge, everything, it's just, you don't need to worry about your vibes or anything because you're playing well. But once things go bad and you need someone to pick up the vibes or do something to get the momentum back and you just don't have that sort of connection with your teammates, it makes it really awkward to play.
Yeah, I think you guys all make very, very valid and fair points. You know, I think that are obviously the biggest disappointment, but I think as a whole, like for NA Central, obviously you had the cold Peterborough ritual situation where I think obviously for them it's different because the setup for them is just a lot more difficult, right? Their one felt more like struggling due to unfortunate circumstance rather than having a good circumstance and then struggling. Obviously, individual level, you could argue maybe he wasn't where you would have expected it to be based off of like just our expectations of these players. You look at Higgs, Clicks, and Yomzo, 18th. You know, when you look at the heights it felt like they had reached at times this year. Again, that's not a placement, you know, you're expecting to see. It's funny though, because we obviously did the pod last week and like we didn't speak about them much. And I remember there being a couple of people sort of messaging me like, why are you guys not like, none of you seem to be feeling Clicks, Yomzo, and Higgs.
Do you remember I asked once the podcast was over, I said, how badly are they going to do? Where do you actually think they're going to place? And I had that's once the podcast had stopped recording, just because I was like, we didn't really mention that much. And I think our general consensus was 11th.
Is that what we all said? We all said 11th.
I said 11th. Someone said 15th. I think maybe I said 10th or 11th. I think because I remember Boop said I had the highest placement by 1 because you were 1 below me. So it was either 10th or 11th or whatever. I think Boop was like 15th. We all praised them. Yeah, I think we were all nicer on them than they actually ended up placing as well.
Damn.
Yeah.
One of the things I think... I was going to say quickly, did you see the sneak play that they tried to do onto Canada's team?
Oh my God.
I voted, and then the Savage play as well after that, the day after.
Yeah.
There
was
I know
a lot of
the
plays
sneak play makes sense, but it's like they just don't wait until the guy gets knocked. They're like waiting, and then they just for some reason get impatient.
Never gets
run up.
Yeah. There was a lot of plays that just execution just wasn't there. I think the idea was good, but the execution just really wasn't there.
The problem with that team, and like I think the placement is exasperated by this fact, is that when they have a bad day one, after that there's no coming back. Like they have no mental, there's like nothing, and then they do dumb shit like the sneak play in Canada and the WQ on Savage and Stormy. You know, like so like. What would have probably been like maybe like a 10th or like a 9th if they just fucking played the game normally the whole time and just played still. End up being a lot worse because they just crashed the fuck out. It's kind of what happened in Major 3 as well. You know, like they did badly day 1. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. And then day 2, they just crashed out again. And then like they go all the way down the leaderboard. So like I think whatever they got was a 17th or something. Isn't as bad as like I wouldn't say they're the 18th worst team in that lobby. You know, they just literally cannot get it together as a mentality
snowballs.
there. It just snowballs into it, like the mentality. They just, when you watch the stream, like there's a lack of trust in the calls. There's bad plays coming out. That's
one thing I've
like,
not been able
I
to
said,
do.
it's adaptability. They just can't adapt.
I actually wanted to ask you guys about that. How much did you watch like player streams? Because obviously, like for me, when you're there, like when you're at globals, like you can't really.
Zero.
Was there anybody like with comms?
So
like,
Savage had comms.
Yeah, Savage had comms, but it was funny. Obviously, Clicks was streaming day 2, but they accidentally on day 2 had Yomzo's POV with full comms for game 1. They forgot to turn off the they forgot to turn off the comms for game 1. So they didn't even have Clix's POV, it was Yomzo's. They just put Flix's face cam over it. And they literally just had full comms. You could hear everything.
Damn, interesting.
But my last point on that trade quickly, it's like they don't get kills. I don't know why, but they just never get kills. They I feel like I'm watching every game and it's an 8th with 1 kill, a 7th with 2 kills. It's like I feel like they never get refreshes. But what I remember from them in obviously season 2 is they're on low ground and they just frag out on low ground. They get a lot of kills, they dominate low ground, and I just felt like they were just kind of passengers in the end games. They never really tried to dominate a game, try and actually run through, not even run through, just get kills, get refreshes, not just kind of just let the game happen, get your 8th, 7th, 6th, and just go to next game. It just felt really weird to watch them.
Yeah, speaking of elims, one of the things I want to do that I still haven't been able to do is I want to go through and see all of the stats for like who did what on each team. I'm not just trying to like team blame people, but like I it's hard to say like on a team where you see them succeed or fail, it's hard to sit and go like, why was that? Like who performed, who didn't, or that kind of things. One of the things I did see on day 1 though is I saw that Clicks was top fragging. Higgs was second just behind him. I think it was like 16 elims, 14 elims, maybe that was a little high, something around those. He also had 2 elims on the first day, which is a rough performance from like a player like him. So yeah, I think he did way better on day 2, obviously. But yeah, I would love to go through and see a lot of the teams and kind of compare, like see who's going crazy, who's not, all these kind of
Right.
things.
Would we say then that, like the smaller region teams where there are obviously struggles of getting the right practice for the environment, you know, I always talk about how NA is very top heavy, right? And so the top heavy nature of it means that those teams are generally less prepared, which is like, even though they've had winners in the previous two, you look at most of the top 10 is always just EU, right? Has this been the event that has exasperated that the most? Like, is this just a matter of like, again, I think you said it near the start of the show, Boop, where it's like these guys just aren't as good as we thought they were because the region is so top heavy, or is there something else?
Oh no, 100%.
You go
100%.
first, Boop.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think, like, anytime there's been a conversation of NA versus EU, and like I'm trying to like people always like people don't take my opinion this properly because they think I'm EU biased because they want EU scrims, right? Like, but in the most unbiased way possible, Peterbot makes that region look so much better than it is, but also at the same time makes it look so much worse than it is with how dominant he is in this situation. Like in any of the conversations about about ENA1, not invitation, sorry, 2023 globals, we count that because that land was fucking Mickey Mouse of shit. If you have another take, I'm sorry. 2023 invitation was Mickey Mouse, even though that benefits EU and the EU versus NA conversation because EU still had, whatever, second, third, fourth, fifth. That was Mickey Mouse. We can't look at Cooper Meal winning that and be like, yeah, that shows that NA is the best region. So we only have two real sample sizes now. We have last year's globals and we have this year's globals. Last year's globals, sure, you can count invitational as well. Whatever, sure, if you want to go back that far, but obviously it makes it sounds biased because Steady won. But I don't want to mention it because obviously it sounds more biased. But then in 2024 globals, if you actually look and analyze that land itself, did Pete and Poyo actually play well that land? You could argue no as a team, right? It was off the back of two Peterbot solo clutches that they won that land. Otherwise, Queasy and Thomas AG would have just won that land. And then, NA wouldn't have won that land. So you could argue, like, in terms of, like, the way... It's hard to talk about it because you can't talk about the way you play Fortnite without mentioning the individuality. But, like, without Pete in that solo clutches, that would have just been Queasy and Thomas winning that in that situation. So in the actual conversation of EU versus NA, it's always been EU that's been better in terms of the averages versus the NA average in total over at the LAN. So no, I don't think this has changed much of the conversation if you're actually like competent and looking at the actual stats. The question is like, why is it actually that skewed? For me personally, I agree with what Levin says. I think it's enormously top heavy towards one side to the point where like if you're not in the right friend groups or you're not in the right mindset and you just can't evolve. Like how long has it always been the same pros at the top in NA, It's always been those pros at the top with maybe Poyo coming up because of Central coming out and Cooper coming up because of Central, but like there's no tier 2 talent at all to come up. And even if there is, you have situations like with Rise, G Money and whatever, right? Like where they try to con a team and then, all this weird shit happens all of a sudden. And then you con another top team, you get so much fucking hate for it, So I don't think there's much saving for it unless there's like a full cultural mind shift at the top level in NA, because I feel like they're not helping themselves out with the way that they play the grand finals and the way that they treat tier 2 pros or tier 3 pros in that region, in my opinion.
You mentioned something there that I think is really, really key in that, like the development of talent in NA has definitely been slower over the past 2 years. Like I remember 2 years ago, we used to talk about like the big 8 players in EU. Whereas now, like a lot of those players are still just really good and part of that top 8 or whatever. But like there's now just so many more players in EU that you look at as like very, very key. Like people who have like forced their way in. It's not even like, they've got lucky with friend group or whatever. They just were so good that they just had to be a part of that conversation. It's interesting. I hear what you're saying. I think people are going to interpret what you're saying wrong.
They probably will.
I think people are going to interpret what you're saying wrong on the like Peter and Poyo front, or like comparing it to like last year. The thing for me has just always just been the simple thing of like, you look at the quality of who's performing at the top level, and you have to be able to separate that from who wins, right? It's like, as a football fan, you know, most European football fans will tell you the Premier League is like the most competitive league. It's the best league, right? But for a long period of time, that's been the case. But you would still argue in most years that like Real Madrid or Barcelona are better, right? And that's why they win the Champions League here and there, right? But it doesn't mean that now La Liga is the best league just because Real Madrid, won the Champions League. You'd still say the quality of the Premier League is better across the whole. And I think like the same thing stands for EU. And I think a lot of people can't separate the fact that even if we think EU is better than NA, that doesn't mean we think the top NA players are bad. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No.
if you had the top heaviness of NA, if you got those top players and you just put them on EU for a year long and then ran them into globals, they'd perform as good as anybody else, right? Because they are playing in a region that is more competitive as you stretch the talent out, right? Whereas, again, you look at like the bottom half of most NA leaderboards and you're like, holy crap, what is going on here? Who are these people? It's like they got like 12 events and they're not cheating, but they're just like, they're just there.
I think a big thing that's kind of being a topic over this whole conversation, like over all of today, is adaptability. I think it's been a huge thing we've touched on a lot, right? And I think when you look at grand finals in EU, there's so many grand finals where a top EU team's grand finals is ruined because there's just another EU team with massive egos who have got a 10th or 100th of the earnings of the other tier 1 team, just contesting them or griefing them or fighting them. And you have to adapt to those sort of problems. It's like if you go through a lot more issues and a lot more situations, you're just going to become better players, right? And even if, say, for example, not even just NA players being better, it's like if NA players, the lower level players, were willing to contest some of the top players, or maybe willing to fight some of the top players or anything like that, they might develop and become better players. For example, Fortnites, right? Fortnites this year in season 2 just contested Vino. He said, I'm better than Vino. And I know there's been a lot of situations where EU teams have done this and it hasn't worked out, but he was just like, we're going to contest Mass Meadows. We're better than them at Mass Meadows. And they were. And they just were, and they gave them so much props, and they ended up getting second at FNCS, and then they ended up developing into a much better team because they were able to win off spawn. I feel like a lot of the NA teams, you could do very similar things as lower level NA players and still do well. I remember I can't remember what grands it was, where Peterbot helped, I think it was Josh Riley or whatever his name is, NA player, to contest Acorn. And they were very similar drops, and there's a world they could have won that fight. And it's like, they could have just contested them for that 12 games and maybe they would have beat Acorn off spawn, and that changes everything. And it's like, these are things that happen in EU, which just never in a million years happen on NA.
It forces you to not be complacent as well, right? Like, oh my God, I have this team line. I got to fucking grind now, I got to work. I want to put a quick little asterisk. Sorry, Reese. I just want to, before the clip gets taken out. If Peterbot, Richie, and Cold were uncontested this LAN, there's no doubt in my mind that they would have also won, by the way. Just before, like, you take everything me saying that, like, they were bad or something. Like, they would have won that LAN as well, It just... The problem is, at some point, you need some fresh talent to keep up with the fresh talent from the other regions. Otherwise, it's going to get stale, or you're just not going to adapt as a top pro anymore because you get complacent, pretty much. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mean win as in, like, 100% beat Queasy's team?
Well, like at least be competitive, right?
They
are good.
I think they would have been second to Vanya, as Vanya's team would have been third.
Regardless of how they ended up playing, I do think that like most of their competitors and a lot of analysts would agree that like Uncon, if their situation isn't as bad, you'd expect them to 100%. Have been competitive, and there's a good chance they would have been still.
I mean, I put them 4th. Whilst triple cons,
I put them.
That's
fourth.
how much faith
right?
we have. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The thing back to the NA part that I was going to mention was, one thing I think that really opened my eyes was whilst I was VOD reviewing the Div Cups this season. So I was going through every week, just winner of EU and winner of NA, and I was mainly focusing on the teams who were going to globals because I wanted to like learn their play styles, all this kind of stuff. And every week, you look at the leaderboards. You look at the EU teams who are going, half of them don't even make it to finals. Half of them are in the bottom of the leaderboard. Some of them, sometimes they win, and they're all over the place. You look at the NA, and it's every single globals team is like top 5, and that's it. And it's every week it's the same. And you're like, wow, all the globals teams are doing good. And you think, well, man, does EU just suck, or is it the complete opposite? Because like I think now looking at the globals results, you just look at how top heavy NA is. That even in like the Div Cups and stuff like that, it's just the same teams doing well every single week after and after.
I like, again, we don't know what's going to happen with format, like, and stuff like shit. But I wouldn't be surprised if like I think they could do things to actually help NA. Like, I think next year, like NA, like if they were to keep the format the same, which I don't think they will now, just because of all the lands we have. But if the format's the same, I'd say like NA, like majors, like make it like 2 groups instead of the 3. Like, they don't even need 3 groups, I reckon. You know what I mean? Like, so like it's already, like, you don't need to spread it out much because like the parity between the top talent is like there's such a big disparity. You might as well just close it up, so at least it's like slightly more competitive in like the previous stages. But again, we're probably just going to be seen as NA haters, and NA fans won't get it. We're not. Don't take it personal. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Okay, Harry is, you know, which I respect.
I am too, Bubba's too.
What is that
Levens, as soon as this podcast's over, Levin's gonna be like, man, you see those shit cans on NA, how bad they did? Like, we know it. He's just playing face because it's his channel. We all fucking hate NA.
It's more fun this way. You know, I'd want it if when there was lands in NA, the NA fans were booing the EU players. It would make it more fun. It's a rivalry. It'll make it way more entertaining.
we need to talk about that. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, like to me, like, because it just makes it way more exciting as an esport than just, and we go to NA and it feels like nothing, and you go to EU and literally the NA players are shaking. You know, they're getting booed when they're going out. It's like that makes it more fun. It's like any other esport. It was so fun.
EU players got booed more than NA players.
Yeah, true.
Did you
Scammy and steady, bro? Holy fuck!
But
the SETI aura coming out.
They leaned into it though. Like they leaned into it, the EU players, and it was like it felt so good. You got to have some villains in Fortnite. You know, you got to have some players, you know, who might get booed, and it's exciting and it makes it so much more fun just as a spectator, and it probably is more fun as a player as well.
I mean, obviously, right? Like, I mean, it's all like, okay. I agree. Like, okay, booing Kami makes sense. They call Akira, they call Podosai, whatever. Booing SETI makes sense. They call these guys, they call MA, the Podosai, Akira, all those guys in trios and duos. You know, they had the beef, so people know. Probably not the reason why they were booing, but like, it makes sense in that situation. Booing Pigstorm and Demush made no sense to me because, like, what did they do? You know, when they won the game, they were getting booed for winning a game. Or is there a reason why?
Podosai,
remember, they con Podosai and they stopped them from qualifying.
Oh,
and that was when everybody was accusing Cammy of like telling them to
I
do
remember.
it.
You're right. Yeah, they were the team that got coached. Okay, there you go. Justified again. But then I saw people be like, "Oh my god, they only booed NA teams. Why are they booing Peterbot so much?" Yes, the broadcast leaned into it a lot. They showed a literal side of Peterbot baby or something like that. I don't know what the fuck the side said, but like there was a literal side of Peterbot. Yeah, there was a little. Someone put it on an A4 piece of paper with like Peterbot is like a bitch or something. I don't fucking know, not those words, but like something like that. But like here's my clippable moment because I said this on stream, but here's the clippable moment. Ready? If you have someone like Pete who loves to play the villain, talks shit about everybody, calls everyone dog shit, is up in everyone's face about it, has all these clippable moments, sits there, counted how many FNtasia wins he has on his fingers walking out, you're gonna get booed in EU. That's the expectation. It's all fair in love and war in this situation, you know? If you're gonna talk shit, you're gonna get shit back. If you cry about that in people's Twitter columns, calling it unfair or calling it biased, where was this energy, you know, when everything else came out before that, you know? Like, you're calling us soft for things previously, and then now this comes out and you're calling and you're being soft about the crowd, you know? Like, it's a part of the game, you know? If you're gonna be a shit talker, you're gonna get shit talked back. That's fair. That's super fair.
I also think like so my take on it was if you like you guys already have said, if you have heroes, you have to have villains. If you have cheers, there's going to be boos. It's just there's cheers because there's passion, so there's going to be boos because there's passion. Some of the boos were valid out of the pre-existing beef and history, and some of those things weren't highlighted. Like, again, I wasn't on the desk as much as like there was times when on the desk like I wish I could have like been like, hey, by the way, these guys are getting booed because of this, because a lot of people didn't know, you know, and you know, maybe that's on us to tell that story better so people at least have that context. Some of the boos though that people were getting, again, and this isn't disrespect to the people I work with were just people getting set up, right? If you're in that arena, right, where the Gentleman's fans are the loudest and they got all their ultras there, if somebody gets asked, yeah, like, how do you think you're gonna do? They're gonna say, I'm here to win. They're gonna boo that. They don't want you to win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not booing you because they have something against you, but if fucking, Clicks is there going, yeah, man, we're winning this shit, right? Of course he's gonna say that, but of course they're gonna boo him. They don't want no, we want M8 to win. So boo, no, we want M8 to win. It's like the thing with Canada, where like Canada comes out and he's like, I love France. And they're like,
smart man.
yeah,
Yeah.
He loves it. He loves us.
Yeah.
And then the next thing he says is, yeah, I'm winning everything. And they're like, hold on a minute, no. Boo, right? It's not a personal thing. They don't hate Canada, right? It's just Canada is not there, the person they're supporting. And he's saying something that actively is going to put down. It's the same thing with like Pete. Like, part of why Pete was getting booed is because a lot of the fans that are there have been conditioned that he's like, and that's another thing that people need to understand. Sorry. A lot of people don't realize a lot of the people there who are like ultras of M8 and green suits and stuff. These are not all, some of them are, but these are not all people who follow Fortnite actively, right? Like, they're not people who can tell you the difference between, how difficult a quad triple edit is versus taking high. Like, they can't tell you that, right? Because they don't Fortnite. So they have a basic understanding of key people, right? And so they would have been conditioned, hey, Pete is the reigning champ and he's like the best. So if they see Pete die, good. The guy that they said is the best is dead and he's not on us. Good. Cheer. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think the problem is, especially because this is so new in Fortnite, because we've not had that before. Some of us who maybe have an experience of other esports and like, European sports and football and stuff like that, we can like see through like just the blank noise of the boo and we can add context to it and interpret things from it. I think a lot of people couldn't do that. And so they felt weird about the boos. They're like, what the hell? Like, why are these guys getting booed? Whereas like, no, one, it's not as deep as you think, right? Because in some cases they went from booing people to cheering them, right? Like that should tell you that the boos aren't like a personal thing. In some cases, they were personal. The boos they were given to Cammy and Seti, like, no, they don't.
They hated
like
them.
They truly hated those guys. But again, there's context to why they hate those guys, and like it's fair in the context of like an event like this, right? So yeah, I felt like I understood some of the confusion and like why people didn't like the booing. I also think it's just the type of thing that like you just need to like, it's not skill issue, but like what's the way to describe this? Like, I don't know.
It's just a part of it. That's like,
like
it's like having a camera in your. Don't film me at the LAN. I don't like cameras in my face. They're gonna put a camera in your face. Like it's just part of the LAN. That's it. It's what you're gonna get in those type of environments.
Would love to say that I love booing. I was sitting at home booing along with them. It was great. It was so fun. I was like, yeah,
old
boo,
man yells
boo.
at TV.
Oh, literally, it was so fun. I think with the booing, it's interesting because like it was obviously. I feel like maybe a lot of the people who were against the booing or were upset or annoyed about the booing probably just didn't like. They probably didn't know the storylines and the backstory beforehand. I think that was one 100%. Of the main things because as soon as every boo I heard was quite obvious or like I don't want to say it was undeserved, but like I get why the French crowd is booing them at that moment. Like I can clearly see when Seti's walking out. I'm like, I know why the French fans don't like Seti. I get it.
Yeah.
I love that he played into it. I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, I think the crowd for me, I think was fantastic. I think the two qualms I have with the crowd, firstly, is that they didn't know anything about Fortnite for the most part. So like there were some like really cool moments that just did have crickets and like didn't have much like cheer to them. So it'd have been good to have more back and forth somewhere. Obviously, like you've got such a huge M8 audience there that's going to be like the overwhelming sound. But I felt that there was some cool moments where there wasn't the same level of hype as Poyo surge trading, and I was like, I felt like there's a little bit of a disparity there. Secondly, I do hate that drum. That drum pissed me off.
No, I love it.
It was so loud, bro. It's so loud.
Bring the trumpet. Just went into the trumpet, mate.
It's like
get the flares out.
Get the vuvuzelas, mate.
Yeah. Bro, I was like, there was one point where I did tweet about it at one point, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if the mic was like right next to it. Couldn't hear the casters. couldn't hear anything. It was just doof, 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 doof for like
I
2
feel like
3
I never
minutes
had that
solid.
issue.
There was
I
it
don't
was
know.
one point. There was one point
Oh.
specifically that it wasn't that loud throughout the whole time, but it was like I was trying to listen to casters. I was like, what are they saying right now, bro? I can't hear them over a drum.
It generally
Yeah,
felt like
outside
it was
that,
a
they're awesome.
European football game at some point.
No,
was
it did,
so...
yeah.
Right, yeah.
How was it?
Yo,
in
that one
the
shot from
stadium?
Dignitas, it was insane.
Bro,
That
in
was
the
sick.
venue, bro, like it was crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Like it was. I'm still just like in awe of it, of just like wow, like I can't believe like that was happening.
Yeah.
They
Have you
showed
watched
up.
your speech back?
Yes, I've watched it back, and
Did they cut off the end of it? Because I feel like
Yeah,
you said
we
something-
didn't hear your end, which was kind of obnoxious.
The crowd was too
Yeah.
loud. That's why. You could,
Yeah,
it was.
so-
They were
so
just
they-
over it. Yeah.
They were. I don't know what happened. Honestly, this one I don't know what happened still, because after I say "Are you ready?" I was still saying shit, but you don't hear it.
No.
Thankfully, they called the "Are you ready?" Otherwise, I would have just been okay. If it was just "Are you?" and it just cuts off. But I think they were worried about the noise because obviously I'm right next to the drummer and the fucking like everything. So I think they put like my gate like really tightly, and so I think where I've just gone crazy, like max volume, like the mic's just like peaked or cut out, because obviously like I can hear myself back.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the part at the end after I said "Are you ready?" I couldn't hear myself in the mic, and so I was like, "Is it going out?" And luckily they cut to the crowd shot, so you can't see me. But if you see other people's videos, I'm sort of like standing there, like afterwards,
You're
trying to
like-
like figure out if like did they even hear anything? Like, was I heard? Like, hopefully it worked, because they weren't going to game either. Because obviously after I say "Are you ready?" I'm like saying something I can't even remember anymore. But I'm saying something which is like go into game now, and they didn't go into game. So I was like, did they hear me? Like, do I need to say it again? That's gonna be a bit
Are
awkward.
you ready?
So,
The way it came across,
are we?
watching for me, the way it came across was what it sounded like. Was that when you shouted "Are you ready?" the crowd went crazy, and then it sounded like it was just they were so loud that you just couldn't hear you.
That's what it
that's
came
the way.
across.
Yeah,
kinda
that's what it
came
sounded like
across
on
as.
stream. Yeah. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
you know?
so it's like I could see and hear something from you. Not one word of that I got after that. But I was like, I'll be honest, mate. I don't give a fuck what you say after you said "Are you ready?" I was like, you've got the good bit out.
It's
That other
perfect.
I was
Yeah,
already
that's
on my
all you
chair
need.
at that point, you know.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's all you
"Ah."
need. Yeah. That's all you need to hear. Thankfully, that bit got out. But
That
no,
must
they
have
were
been like
so
a
loud.
career high for you in that moment.
Bro, Dignitas, shout out to the guy. I need to find the guy's name. Like one of the
that
guys
video
who was
of it.
filming at Dig, he got a vid of it where like it's just like it pans out and it's like because they put their trailer, like they posted their trailer for their doc they're gonna do, and like the shot he got of it looks fucking insane. So
I saw that. I'm interested in how the Dig, slight side tangent, but how that documentary is going to come out, because the trailer looked really good and it was hyping it up so much of like the all the players are super hyped. I'm interested to see how they do the storytelling of like them not performing at all outside of Canada.
I fear it's gonna be like last year, because last year the doc was sick, but it didn't do well, right? Because it's like people just,
I don't think the documentary last year was that great. It was just like a bunch of
it
interviews
wasn't.
outside of the gameplay.
Yeah, I gave a bunch of feedback. I remember at the time being like, I think I remember 50 was really upset about it. And I remember I'm not trying to get side tangent on this, but I remember just being like, this just wasn't that entertaining. Great. I'll be honest. Yeah. Like you got some nice camera angles and shit, but like that's not what makes it a good video good. You know?
Okay, well, hopefully this year they do a better job of that.
I mean, it looks so sick.
Yeah, it looks really cool. But no, to answer your question, it was loud in the arena, man. Super loud, to the point where I couldn't, like, when I'm in there, like, trying to watch the game, I can't hear the commentators, like, most of the time. It's just too loud. So
it was in French anyways.
Or in your ears.
I'm saying in my ear,
in your ears.
I have the English. Wow. I still have the English in my ear, but like because of the French commentators plus the crowd, it's like I can't hear shit.
I thought the broadcast was really good this weekend. I actually really enjoyed watching it. I watched it for a lot of it.
The Jacob Taco combo.
Yeah, they were good.
Jacob and Taco
some great
crushed it.
Yeah. I actually made a Mr. Taco. There was a couple times I was writing notes down. It was funny. I was like, I write notes as I was going along, and she would say something, and I was like, "Fuck, that's a good analytical point, man. I'm gonna write that down." There you go. So there might be some cooks from her in the video. I can't remember which ones they were though.
I think what I saw on Twitter, like the criticism of the broadcast was like it was too EU focused, but like, what was there to focus on like the NA side? You know, like there wasn't much The only thing I guess I get one tangent on that one though is like I do wish we would have seen a little bit more from Muzz's trio because that comeback from them on day 2 was really good. Like shout out to Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx to have that day 2 comeback, but I don't think we saw much of it. Understandably so because you got the storyline of Queasy, losing out on first place, so like you could expect it there. But like yeah, I guess shout out to them at the fear of being too EU biased here.
I think in general though, like we always miss day 2 comebacks.
That's what I was about to say. It feels like there's
Like,
always a sneak comeback, which we never
there's
see.
always a like. I think you could go to almost every single major this year, and even like globals. There's just always a sneak comeback that like just gets missed in the focus of the key storyline of who's winning. You know,
World Cup. Like go back to World Cup. Who was it that jumped up like in the final? Was it in duos or solos in the final game, or the final 2 games?
Oh, Crew.
Super. It was Crew, yeah, in solos.
Oh.
Yeah, won the final game, and no one cared because Booga won the whole thing. And he jumped
those
up
things
to like
just happen.
top 10. Yeah, is what it is.
Yeah. But I'm glad people enjoy the show. My voice is messed up, if you couldn't tell from listening so far.
It's warmed up. Sounds better now than it did.
I'm getting, yeah, much better. No, globals was amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, I don't have much more to say other than it was a great event. Do you guys? I saw a lot of people saying it was the best globals ever or the best event ever. Did you guys feel that way? Like, did you guys? Is it the best event we've had for you guys?
Not in terms of storylines for me personally. I think last year's globals was a little bit better in terms of like the hype. I think this one was better just in terms of the overall like atmosphere and like the lead into it.
Yeah, I entirely agree. I think as a product and everything is better, but I think in terms of I think the players
favorite for you.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite gameplay wise, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah, I think the actual product of globals, like if you look at it from like the show, arena, the fact that they sold out and you got the crazy crowd and the atmosphere, the broadcast, I think the product was the best it's ever been. But yeah, I think there's fair criticism of like the game, and obviously like the Peterbot shit last year was just crazy hype.
Yeah.
So,
I also I think of course just as always it's like, well, not as always, but in particular this event and this year, the one thing that analytically makes it the game's boring to watch was just so much surge trading. I don't want to get into a massive surge trading conversation, but like, you look at the top teams, every single one of them outside of Fred was surge trading pretty much. So it's just, I don't know, that makes the mid game so boring. I think the observers did a good job of catching teams who are actually getting in action and all this kind of stuff, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's still surge trading. It's still, I VOD viewed every win and put it on my channel so far, and Jesus, there's not a lot to talk about. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. There are analytical points you can make, but like it is a lot of surge trading.
Yeah, maybe we finally got to get around to doing that episode.
Well, that's what I've done. Long seen in the announcement. The reworked Storm Surge would have been a really nice line. That could have made it a 10 out of 10 if they put that in there.
Fair.
Yeah.
You know what? That's fair. I'm trying to remember if I spoke to anyone at Epic about surge trading.
So
they know.
Spoke about a lot of stuff.
So there was on Faxty stream, there was a guy from Epic who was talking about how they know everything. Like, that was
That was a good conversation on stream.
It was a very good conversation. Yeah, it was like a good 20-minute conversation talking to Faxty, and like Faxty stream was giving the pros and Faxty stream were giving ideas, and he was like noting down any ideas to fix Storm Surge. Some of them not so good, some of them good. So yeah, exactly. Just try something. That's all we ask for. Just try something, and hopefully it fixes it.
Yeah, shout out Drekker.
Drekker is
like he had like the notepad out. Like he was like, I'll write it down. Hold on.
It's a very exciting time to be a Fortnite fan. Obviously, Globals was great, but we now know that there's so much more to come. Harry, are we running back duos? Are we going to be playing? Or do you
there's FNCS trials on Saturday. Let's run it.
Are we running it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I gotta get primed again.
What level are you on for?
Lock back in. And that will be that for this week's episode of the FNtasia podcast. It's been great to have you all here with us. Is there anything else I'm missing, guys? Was there anything else this weekend that we should talk about before we go?
No, genuinely. That was
one thing.
I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, I think the having like Aussie and the other content creators there for the the pre and like setting up and the way that they did that, where they cut it off at 7 o'clock so that the players have the time to practice. Before that, you get lots of content, creators in for lots of content. I thought that was super sick. I thought that brought so much hype in the lead up to it, where you could just see all the creative battles and stuff like that. So Epic, do that again.
I agree. Next year, to add to that though, make FNtasia do a pre or post show where we get to sit down with players.
Post show.
Post show. Yeah.
Have you seen how they do it in League, where they're like on the stage with like a podcast set up, and then like just have the winners? That oh my god, let that happen. Come on.
We should do that next year, guys. So, guys, if you guys want us to do that, we have a year to push for it. We need your support. We have
share
1
with
year
your
to
friends.
Share with everybody you know. But yeah, it's good to be back with all 4 of you guys, man. It's good to we'll chat again.
Again in a few months, or
yeah.
I mean, this is Harry's last episode. Let's be honest. Like,
we might not see Harry again all year.
Harry's peaked now. If there's any hate, so there's no coming back from this.
We didn't even talk about Sace. That's perfect. I think I can leave on that. I think
we'll spare you on that one, I guess.
There we go. Chloe won't be happy.
We definitely need
about
to do a Say interview.
Yeah,
I mean, Frankie said she was down on Twitter to do a podcast episode.
We're not getting Frankie on the podcast.
What?
We already had
guess
Frankie
we don't
on the
want
podcast,
women on the
bro.
podcast, Levin. I guess
we already had Frankie on the podcast.
Oh, we did for the awards. We did, yes.
Yeah, we already had her on the podcast. Yeah.
That,
see, you don't even remember.
Yeah.
Does
that even count?
Sexist.
Do we have a conversation, or was that just her introducing?
Sexist.
She said some words.
I mean, you just don't want her to have a full opinion, do you?
Oh, wow.
Levin, I went there.
Wow.
Hey, I want Frankie on the podcast.
We actually did I was gonna get Taco on the podcast, but she was like, oh, I'm too busy, so she dodged.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do it.
Totally a real story. Yeah. I believe that.
I asked Elon Musk.
I also had a female Fortnite caster that wanted to get on, but she was just too busy, man.
No, I'm being for real. I'm pretty sure I told you this as well.
Sure you did.
I told you.
Just have her.
You don't speak to me anymore. So how am I?
All right, guys, this is the end of the podcast. See you guys
true,
never. We're done. FNtasia's done. You guys are done. It's over.
Bye.